Welcome to another episode of Out from the Horrorbox. I'm your fearful host, Dom, and in this episode we take a look at the 2025 American Gothic science fiction drama film produced, written, and directed by Guillermo del Toro, based on the 1818 novel by Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. The brilliant director Guillermo del Toro adapts Mary Shelley's classic tale of Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant but egotistical scientist who brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. So let's listen to the tale of a monster and his creation. In 2007, Guillermo del Toro declared that a project he would kill to make would be a faithful adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, conceived as a grand Miltonian tragedy. He praised Frank Darabont's pretty much perfect script for Kenneth Branagh's 1994 film as a key inspiration. By January 2008, del Toro had begun actively developing his vision, crafting elaborate drawings to establish the film's world and taking initial script notes, though this work was paused due to the Hollywood writer's strike. The following month, he elaborated on his ambitious goal, stating that, "What I'm trying to do is take the myth and do something with it, but combining elements of Frankenstein and write a Frankenstein without making it just a classical myth of the monster. The best moments in my mind of Frankenstein of the novel are yet to be filmed." He distinguished his approach by citing Christopher Lee's portrayal in the Hammer films for capturing the monster's profound emptiness, while acknowledging Boris Karloff's iconic embodiment of its tragedy. Later in 2008, the project was formally set up under del Toro's first look deal with Universal Pictures, announced alongside other planned adaptations like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Del Toro cited Bernie Wrightson's detailed 1983 illustrations as primary visual inspiration and clarified that his film would not be a direct adaptation rather than an adventure story that involves the creature, expressing his desire for Wrightson to design the creature itself. By 2009, del Toro indicated that production was still years away, yet he had already cast his frequent collaborator Doug Jones as the creature and begun preliminary makeup tests. The project subsequently entered a long period of dormancy. Jones later attributed this to Universal's shifting focus towards building its interconnected Dark Universe franchise. Del Toro's passion for the source material remained undimmed, calling it his favorite novel in the world at Comic-Con in 2010. In subsequent years, he publicly mused about casting Benedict Cumberbatch as the creature in 2013 and expressed a desire to tackle both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein in 2014, though he admitted reluctance, calling it a dream project he was almost afraid to realize. In a poignant 2016 reflection, del Toro revealed his deep personal conflict. "Frankenstein to me is the pinnacle of everything. I dream I can make the greatest Frankenstein ever. But then if you make it, you've made it. Whether it's great or not, it's done. You cannot dream about it anymore. That's the tragedy of a filmmaker." By 2020, his vision had expanded further, as he stated that the novel's complexity warranted a 2 or 3 film adaptation. The long-dormant project was dramatically revived in 2013 under del Toro's partnership with Netflix. Following his Oscar win for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, it was announced he would write and direct with Andrew Garfield, Oscar Isaac, and Mia Goth in early talks for roles. By September, Christoph Waltz had joined the cast, and filming was scheduled for February 2024. A significant recasting occurred in January 2024 when Jacob Elordi replaced Garfield as the creature due to scheduling conflicts stemming from the SAG-AFTRA strikes. This required Del Toro to scrap 9 months of design work for Garfield and hurriedly redesign the creature for a taller Elordi in just 9 weeks. The cast continued to grow with additions like Felix Kramer, Lars Mikkelsen, David Bradley, Christian Convery, Charles Dance, and Ralph Ineson in a pivotal cameo. Del Toro has articulated a philosophy that liberates his adaptation from strict fidelity, arguing that universal myths like Frankenstein rise above their source material, making any interpretation valid if executed with sincerity, power, and personality. He describes the story as a formative religion from his childhood where Boris Karloff's image replaced traditional icons. His cinematic influences are wide-ranging, drawing not only from James Whale's classic films, but also from Gothic romances like Rebecca, Wuthering Heights, and Dragonwyck. The project's tone was hinted in early footage presented at Netflix, a Netflix event. Scored to, oh my god, I'm gonna mispronounce this. Wojciech Kilar's majestic music from Bram Stoker's Dracula, signaling Del Toro's commitment to a sumptuous, operatic, and deeply emotional retelling. Now that we understand where Guillermo del Toro is coming from with this version of Frankenstein, could have been just another adaptation of that novel from Mary Shelley. Now let's get into Frankenstein.
I had determined that the memory of my evils should die with me. Some of what I will tell you is fact. Some is not. But it is all true. What manner of creature is that? What manner of devil made him? I did. I had a vision. An idea took shape in my mind. Inevitable. Unavoidable. Until it became truth. In seeking life, I created death.
Prelude. In 1857, the Royal Danish Navy vessel Horisont is on a perilous expedition to the North Pole. It becomes hopelessly trapped in the Arctic ice. The crew is alerted by a distant explosion, and Captain Anderson, played by Lars Mikkelsen, leads the party to investigate. They discover a lone, mortally wounded man, Victor Frankenstein, played by Oscar Isaac. After bringing him aboard, the ship is besieged by a monstrous, superhuman creature, played by Jacob Elordi, that demands Victor be surrendered. Anderson uses a blunderbuss to repel the creature, driving it beneath the icy water. With his dying breaths, Victor explains to the horrified crew that he is the creature's creator and begins to recount the tragic story of its origin. Part 1: Victor's Tale. Victor's childhood is shattered when his mother dies, giving birth to his younger brother William. Their aristocratic father, a renowned physician, showers all his affection on William, leaving Victor to grieve his mother alone under a cloud of paternal neglect and abuse. These family members are played by Mia Goth, Felix Kammerer, and Charles Dance, respectively. This fuels Victor's descent into a brilliant but arrogant surgeon, obsessively seeking to conquer death itself. His blasphemous experiments in reanimating the dead get him expelled from the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. His fortunes change when the wealthy arms merchant, Henrik Harlander, played by Christoph Waltz, offers him unlimited funding and a secluded tower for his work, with one cryptic condition. Victor accepts enlisting William's help to build his laboratory. He also becomes infatuated with Harlander's niece, Elizabeth, also played by Mia Goth, who is engaged to William. Though she gently rebuffs his advances, under pressure from a dying Harlander for results, Victor assembles a new body from the parts of executed criminals and the Crimean War dead. Harlander then reveals his condition. He wants his syphilis-ridden brain transplanted into the new body to achieve immortality. Victor refuses, deeming the brain diseased. In a rage, Harlander attempts to sabotage the experiment, but falls to his death. Victor proceeds, using lightning to animate the creature, but it initially appears lifeless. Victor awakens the next morning to find the creature alive, possessing immense strength and a rapid healing ability, but childlike in intellect. He can only teach it to say his name, Victor. Frustrated and fearful of its power, Victor begins to abuse his creation. During a visit, Elizabeth shows the creature kindness, teaching it to say her name, while William discovers Harlander's body. Victor lies, claiming the creature murdered Harlander. Consumed by fear and regret, Victor sets his laboratory ablaze with the creature inside. Hearing its desperate cry of "Victor," he tries to save it, but the tower explodes, costing him his leg. In the narrative present aboard the Horizon, the story is interrupted as the creature itself boards the ship and prepares to tell its side of the tale. Part 2: The Creature's Tale. After escaping the inferno, the wounded creature finds refuge in a watermill attached to a remote farm. Over the following years, he secretly aids a farming family, chopping firewood, building pens, and is mythologized by them as the benevolent spirit of the forest. When the family leaves for a winter hunt, the creature befriends their blind grandfather, played by David Bradley, who, unaware of his pupil's true nature, teaches him to read and speak with eloquence. Empowered by knowledge, the creature returns to the ruins of Victor's tower. There, he discovers notes detailing his horrific creation and learns the location of Victor's family estate. He returns to the farm to find his blind friend attacked by wolves. After fighting them off, he cradles the dying old man, only to be shot by the returning family, who mistake him for the killer. The bullet wound heals instantly, forcing the creature to confront his own immortality and eternal solitude. Seeking an end to his loneliness, the creature confronts Victor at William and Elizabeth's wedding, demanding a mate. Victor refuses in terror, provoking an attack. Elizabeth rushes in and, in a tragic accident, is shot by Victor as he aims at the creature. William is wounded while attempting to rush the creature. The dying William calls Victor the true monster. The creature carries Elizabeth to a cave comforting her as she dies. Victor is then pursued to the Arctic by the creature. Here is where the creature fails in an attempt to destroy Victor and himself with dynamite at the beginning of the film. Back aboard the ship, the dying Victor and the creature share a final, poignant reconciliation, addressing each other as father and son. After Victor dies, the creature uses his great strength to free the Horizont from the ice. Humbled, Captain Anderson abandons his polar quest and orders the ship home. Alone on the ice, the creature reaches out to embrace the rising sun, finally experiencing the warmth and the light his father once described to him. Now let us move on to some trivia about the film Frankenstein and learn some things about the behind the scenes, the production, and the actors. Victor Frankenstein's laboratory and Captain Anderson's ship were fully constructed sets. I want the real sets, director Guillermo del Toro explains. I don't want digital. I don't want AI. I don't want simulation. I want old-fashioned craftsmanship, people painting, building, hammering, plastering. And that's what I love about Guillermo del Toro, especially when he comes to his effects, his creature effects, his special effects. It's all real. It's there. It's like he needs it to be there for him to be like, yes, that's why the monster comes to the lightning strike and he comes to life. And so then they're like, you know, this is like not a real, right? This is just a movie. No, it's a real, but the movie. You know, I love just like being Guillermo del Toro. I just imagine he's like a madman, but like he makes these most amazing like things. He brings to life like these creatures, and it's just these concepts and these ideas, and it's just like, oh God, I love that he's already won Academy Award. I really wish he had been nominated, and we'll talk about that in my final thoughts about this being nominated for Best Picture. But I just love that he's just like, I want it there. I need it to be there for my actors to understand like this is what they're going up against. Artist Bernie Wrightson, who drew the illustrations of the 1983 Frankenstein graphic novel, on which the creature's design is based on in the film, is a close friend of Del Toro's. Del Toro licensed Wrightson's illustrations of the creature before the film's pre-production. So the illustrations that we see in the films, those are coming from the illustrations from Wrightson, who he based. Like, I love that it's just this circular thing of him basing it off of that, which it comes from what he already seen and done. It's kind of like a Nick Fury and Samuel L. Jackson type of thing, where they based the redesigned Nick Fury on Samuel L. Jackson, and then they got Samuel L. Jackson to play Nick Fury. So then now it's like this kind of loop of like, whoa, which came first, Samuel L. Jackson or Nick Fury? I think it was Nick Fury. No, but I love that too, that he was able to get those, and I mean obviously it's a friend of his that he was able to get it for the film, but he used it as the basis for like the drawings, the sketches, the graphic novel as a basis for the way it's going to, like the way the creature looks and the way that it's just stylized. And I like that. I love that, like, it just comes full circle for Guillermo del Toro, for this film that he's just been obsessed with creating, crafting, making. Mia Goth plays the dual role of Victor's mother, Claire Frankenstein, and his love interest, Lady Elizabeth Harlander, to create a thematic connection between mother and potential lover, which director Guillermo del Toro felt was crucial to the story. Goff and del Toro discovered this idea during an early conversation about her experience with new motherhood, and allowed del Toro to explore the Oedipal themes and Victor's lifelong yearning for his mother through a single actress. And it's crazy because when I first, I think I knew this going in that she was going to play the mom. Sitting there, because I saw it in theaters, I didn't see it at home like you plebes. No, I'm joking. If you saw it at home, great. I love that. Like, people even just sat and watched this. But I got to see it like the special, like when it was in theaters for a limited time. I had to drive all the way into the middle of nowhere to go see it, but it's an experience, and I love that. Like, I was able to experience that because it was amazing. It gives this grandiose depth to this grandiose film that I think was needed, and I think should have just been released, honestly, in theaters. I get Netflix's whole thing, but they should have just released this in theaters, and it needed to be like that. But sitting there watching it, and I'm like, is that Mia Goth? I couldn't tell. Like, they did such a good job of like making her look distinct and unique as Claire Frankenstein, but they made her also look unique and distinct for Lady, where she looks more like herself as Mia Goth. But I think that you do get the sense of like, oh yeah, like there's something from like you're supposed to feel like, and I think I mean, obviously you're supposed to feel like there's something familiar about her and the way she looks and the way she acts. Obviously, because it's the same actress, but because that it's supposed to make you think that, like, it's supposed to. She looks unique and different, but she also looks familiar. And God, it like Guillermo del Toro. He added, like I said, gotta save it to my final thoughts because I could get into it so much. Guillermo del Toro considered at one point making the film into a trilogy, potentially making each part focus on one of the three main characters: Victor Frankenstein, the creature, and Captain Robert Walton. I don't think it needed three films. I think he's such a great director, writer, that he was able to masterfully give this one movie that was enough. Enough of just what like a master auteur would be able to do. Someone who understands not just the assignment, but goes above beyond the assignment and is like, you fools, I did not just write it, I made it. But like, I get his idea, kind of trying to show like the point of views of these characters, but I don't think seeing it from I like, why, I don't know why we would need even just like the captain's like point of view for a whole film. I feel like that's too excessive. At that point, it would have been like, when are we gonna get these other parts? I don't know. I feel like it could have not worked with the first one, where you're like, so we just got Joseph Victor's point of view. Weird. I don't know. I think it's a good thing that he was like, no, scrap it. Let's just make one movie. The film is the second horror remake or reimagining that Ralph Ineson, who portrays Professor Kremp, stars in, that is based on a notable horror novel. The first horror remake or reimagining that Ineson starred in is Nosferatu from 2024. This film, as well as predecessors, is based on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Likewise, Nosferatu, as its with its predecessors, was based on Bram Stoker's 1890 novel Dracula. And I think having Einstein, I mean, even just for a small part, is amazing. Like, this guy, I love Ralph Ineson, and anything he's gonna be in is great. His such a booming deep voice. I don't even know if I could do it, but it's great. He was great as Galactus. I think he is the perfect person to play Galactus. I honestly, if it was somebody else, I would have been like, all right, whatever. But you tell me that Ralph Fiennes's Galactus, I'm like, yes, that's who I picture. There is no one else I could picture as Galactus. I think he's probably the best actor that you could have picked. I loved his take on, who was he? He was the professor in, yeah, because what's his, Willem Dafoe was Van Helsing, I think, or like the Van Helsing stand-in. But Ralph Fiennes from The Witch, if you've ever seen The Witch, and if you haven't, go see it right now. The Witch is amazing. I love The Witch, but he does such a great job in that as well. I'll watch anything with Ralph Fiennes. He's such a great actor. He just like demands your attention when he's in scenes, and you'll just know it's him every time because he has such a deep voice that it's like, bro, there. But with all that, guys, let's get into my final thoughts on Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. If you were gonna tell me back, I don't know, a while ago, 10, 15 years, eventually we get an adaptation of Nosferatu, and it's from Robert Eggers, and he's doing this with Bill Skarsgård and oh god, what's his name from X-Men and stuff, Nicholas Hoult. I would have been like, are you crazy? What, the guy from The Witch doing this? I mean, The Witch is good, but I think I would have been like, I don't know. Okay, whatever. But then you tell me that then the year after we're getting Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I would have been like, wait, why isn't he doing Nosferatu? And it's like, I don't know. But honestly, Nosferatu was a banger. I know a lot of people didn't. There was a lot of people that didn't like it, but I loved it. But with all that set aside, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Now, we know that over the years, I think it would have. I think if you would have told me this like a while way back, I would have been like, the Pan's Labyrinth guy? Oh, cool. Yeah, that might be a weird, twisted version of Frankenstein that's all dark and, it's got Doug Jones as this weird Frankenstein's monster. It's all twisted and it deviates from the story. It's all dark and depressing and stuff. But then over the years, we would have seen him evolve, change and adapt. We would see him do like the Hellboys, and we would see him do the Pacific Rim, and then move into like Crimson Peak, and do things like The Shape of Water, and then Nightmare Alley. And so with those two, both garnering nominations, and The Shape of Water winning Best Picture, and him winning Best Director with The Shape of Water, it would have, then it sets in now to change my idea and ideas of Guillermo del Toro himself, and understanding like where he's coming from when he's making these films now a little bit more, and watching like some behind the scenes stuff, and watching him doing interviews talking about when he was a kid, how much he loved Frankenstein, how much it changed his whole outlook on life, and like how like because of religion, and like how he saw this as a religion, and like it's and also being coming from a shared culture, with him being Mexican, understanding that like religion is a big part of the Mexican, like that our our whole history. Religion in the sense of prior to colonialism, and then into after that. With modern day, and just this whole idea of just the symbolism of the Gothic narrative, and just everything that he's putting into this film. It's so elaborate. It's so I don't even know what the words are. It's just beautiful. It's just he does such a great job, like understanding like the characters, understanding Victor Frankenstein is a flawed creator. He is basically like his idea of what I think what he would say God would be like, this person that made this thing and just doesn't and shuns it and doesn't want it because it's not what he thought it would be, because he wanted this elaborate thing, and in order to get what he wanted, he had to become a monster. He had to become the thing that he thinks that it is, and the thing isn't what he it actually isn't what he thinks it is, because it's only a monster because we keep saying he's a monster. We keep saying it's a monster because it doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't know why it's here. It doesn't know why it was created. And he's able to do all this and show us this, and then like the shunning of like him from his father, and like his love of his mother so much that when he sees the person who embodies his mom so much that like he goes after her, but not in like a horrible like rage of like, yes, I'm gonna do everything I can, but like he still feels inadequate when he can't have her, and then like that's why he pushes through to create something that is this, and then she falls essentially in love with his son, and it at first kind of makes him upset, but because also she's in love with his brother too. He's the one man she can't, he's the one man she doesn't want, type of thing. And then just like the monster too, coming to terms with what it is and who it is, and finally understanding, once it sees its father and watches him die, and understanding finally, in the end. And it's just, this is a great film. I know it got a lot of criticism from critics at first, who they trashed this because it wasn't like the 1930s version, which it's itself not a complete. It's not even an adaptation. I wouldn't even consider that an adaptation. That's more of like a Stanley Kubrick's The Shining version of Frankenstein. This is if like Stephen King had done The Shining, but made it and actually made a good version of an adaptation of his novel. Because like Guillermo del Toro, like you can tell, I think with this more so than everything else that he's done, that this is what he was working towards. This is actually what Guillermo del Toro was working towards in everything. And you can, like, the way I mean that is like, I've seen Crimson Peak, I've seen Nightmare Alley, I've seen The Shape of Water, I've seen Pan's Labyrinth, I've seen Hellboy 2, I've seen Pacific Rim. I can see the touches of all this in this film, and it all culminated to this. This man has a room that's dedicated to Frankenstein. He understands this from hand over fist of what it is. And that's just the director, the writer, the producer himself, creating such a masterful work, a masterful stroke, directing Oscar Isaac, I think, in a stunning, great performance. I think he does a great job here. It's one of his best performances. I think he embodies Victor Frankenstein. I think Jacob Elordi, I think, was the surprise to me of like, to make you feel for this hulking, which I didn't realize how big this man was, how tall he is. and how imposing of a presence he is, I think, why would you want Andrew Garfield in this role in the first place? I think Jacob Elordi knocks it out of the park, making you feel for this creature, for this poor, thing that's not wanted by essentially his father. He does the same thing. The cycle of abuse does not stop. This poor creature is abused because he's not what his father wanted, and then that's you dumbass. That's what your dad did to you. He didn't want you because you weren't what he wanted. That's why he loved your brother more than you. And all you're doing all this is not just because you love your mother, but because you wanted your father's love as well. It's ridiculous, but Mia Goth too, just great. Like she does a great job. Christoph Waltz does a great job. There's so much you can like gush about this film, and the fact that it's nominated for Best Picture. And so I'm gonna touch on this here now. Like this is the first year where we've had two horror films. Like, okay, like you could maybe say that this is like a sci-fi esque gothic tale, and use all these fancy words to try and get away from the fact that this is a horror movie. This Frankenstein is a horror film. I'm sorry, but it's a horror film. And I reviewed Sinners. Go back and listen to that if you haven't. But I reviewed Sinners last year. Sinners made such an impact that it pushed its way through and was nominated and is in the top running for Best Picture for last year. And I this movie too, I could see this movie winning Best Picture. Just it has all the style and theatrics of what a Hollywood movie would have, and would have won if this was like the 1950s, 60s, even maybe 40s. This would have won Best Picture. It's so just theatrical. It's so driven by the story. That's why I think it probably would have won back then. But Sinners is more of a modern, I think, take on, and it's just so crazy that over the years we've only had The Exorcist nominated for Best Picture. We had Silence of the Lambs, which it is. I would include it as a horror film. You can say it's a thriller all you want. There's like a lot. It's about a serial killer. It's a horror film. There's only been one horror film to win Best Picture. The next horror, quote unquote, like horror movie that got nominated was Get Out. So, and that was, man, what now? Like 10 years ago? No, I don't know. I don't know if it was been that long, but it's been a while. And then last year we had The Substance, and then this year we finally had two horror films. I thought Nosferatu might have got nominated for a last, but it didn't, which kind of sucks. But now we got or for the year before, sorry. Now we got Sinners and Frankenstein, two horror films in a year, and Sinners is one of the front runners. It's either going to be One Battle After Another, or it's going to be Sinners for Best Picture. And honestly, I'm in the Sinners camp. I kind of really want that to win, just to kind of prove, like, hey, horror can stand on its own. It can stand with all these other genres. Even if Frankenstein also wins too, or I mean, I like One Battle After Another. I won't be upset if that wins, but it would just be kind of like a thing to kind of be like, see, for all those years that you guys said horror didn't deserve to be even thought of to be nominated, that's where it's just like, shut up. But I give Frankenstein 4 stars, and it's just such a, like, it's like you can just see that this man has been wanting to make this movie for years, and he finally got to make it. what did you think of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? Did you like the art design? Did you think it could win Best Picture? I mean, don't rule it out. We want to thank you all for listening, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to get every new episode downloaded. Do you have any personal or fictional, paranormal, supernatural, or unexplainable stories? We'd love to read them on the podcast. Please send your stories, recommendations, or anything else to horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to show more support, you can follow our socials on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, or check out our YouTube channel, all at Horrorbox Podcast on all sites. Also, you can buy me a coffee at coffee.com/horrorboxpodcast because it really helps out, guys. Until next time, how about we not play God? This is Dom, signing off from the Horrorbox.
Never again will I make something like you wicked and deformed.
Then it is still all about your will, Victor. That horrible, horrible will that birthed me condemns me now. The miracle is not that I should speak, but that you would ever listen! If you are not to avoid me, love, then I will indulge in rage. Mine is infinite!
Step aside. Victor. What's going on?
Elizabeth, move away from it! It attacks her! It attacks her!